This is actually crazy. I totally forgot that Trump, back when he was running for president, 2015, 2016, said something so contradictory to the moment I'm about to play for you from the press conference that we reviewed. It's shocking. It would shock most people to learn that Trump has said this in the past if they didn't already know it. So at this Bedminster press conference that he held, he said this about healthcare and communism.
And you're not going to be allowed. You're all going to be thrown into a communist system. It's a communist system. You're going to be thrown into a system where everybody gets health care.
So according to him here, more recently, under Vice President Kamala Harris, which she hasn't even laid out a plan for this, but he's saying she would find a way for everyone to have health care. A universal health care program that would define the communism he's fear-mongering about, right? Just like how they call Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and her running mate a communist for implementing policies like universal free meals in K through 12 schools, or an expanded child tax credit, or protecting reproductive rights, or common sense gun-related legislation. All that communism. Any actual governance that moves the ball down the field in these issues, communism. They're calling Harris communist for a plan, again, she hasn't rolled out because universal health care to Trump is communism. Well, that is Trump now. This was Trump during a CBS interview during his presidential run saying this.
What's your plan for Obamacare?
Obamacare is going to be repealed and replaced. Obamacare is a disaster. If you look at what's going on with premiums, where they're up 45, 50, 55%.
So how do you fix it?
There's many different ways, by the way. Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25%, they can't afford private. But
universal health care.
I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now.
The uninsured person?
Right.
Is going to be taken care of.
They're going to be taken care of.
How?
I would make a deal with existing hospitals to take care of people. And you know what? This is probably...
Make a deal. Who pays for it?
The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side. But for the most part, it's going to be a private plan, and people are going to be able to go out and negotiate great plans with lots of different competition, with lots of competitors, with great companies, and they can have their doctors, they can have their plans, they can have everything.
So, okay, first of all, the reason why the way that he's talking like this is kind of crazy, and it's an example of just in the last few years, he could never speak like that now. He would get distracted talking about electrocutions and sharks, or have some glitch. So that's interesting. But in addition to that, he does the Trumpian thing where he doesn't actually know what he's talking about. No, everything's perfect. No, don't worry. If you elect me president, don't ask me why. I'll reveal later. It's like a surprise, okay? Don't ruin the surprise. But if you make me president, then I'll surprise you with a healthcare plan that's better than everybody's, that covers everybody. And the interesting thing is, parts of what he's saying is actually what a single payer system would look like. But he's now calling that communism. And I think less so was that him having a true ideological shift, and more so he just shifts around based on what he thinks is politically advantageous. Back then, as the I'm going to fix everything's going to be perfect guy, he just said what sounded the best, which is, yeah, the government will take care of it for you. But there are plans to facilitate that, where you get the health care that you need, where it's financed through our tax dollars, and where we save money as a country. But Republicans advocate against that. We've talked a lot of times about this Commonwealth Fund study that found the U.S. healthcare system trails far behind a number of other high-income countries when it comes to affordability, administrative efficiency, and that relates heavily to our uber-privatized system, equity, and healthcare outcomes. And specifically, the researchers ranked the United States last. We're the most wealthy, powerful country in the world. We're ranked last overall in providing equitably accessible, affordable, high quality healthcare. And it goes through specifics. If I can remember, I'll link these below if you want to dive into it. But the specific categories there, and you also have this from the Peterson Foundation. And one thing that is crazy, it's crazy that Trump, as uneducated and dishonest as he was back then and is now, just from listening to people, stumbled across some correct points, and he was only using them for political purposes. He didn't try to implement such a plan. He tried to repeal Obamacare without having a plan to replace it. 2 weeks, he was going to release the healthcare plan back in, 2018? So, super dishonest there. But his point about us wasting a bunch of money on our current system, when every other wealthy, industrialized country has universal health care and they pay less than us per capita, he was actually correct a little bit on that. Every day we do a whole show that you can get access to if you're a member by clicking the join button below. And then if you're thinking, I don't want to go that far, but you want to support the work in a free way, you can do that by clicking the subscribe button. Thank you so much. Back to the video. US healthcare spending per capita is almost twice the average of other wealthy countries. Look at that. Having better outcomes for less. Having more coverage for less. And you can see one of the things that jacks this up is administrative costs. And like I said, a lot of that comes down to the inefficiency of the complexity. When, for example, a healthcare provider has to engage with a gazillion different insurers and collect bills from a gazillion different insurers, instead of a much simpler process that every other, like I said, developed country has implemented. So there's better options out there. That's what we should be implementing, but we choose not to because of bizarre, inaccurate fear-mongering about communism from people like Trump. When Trump himself has understood what we're talking about here in the past. Let me know what you think of that resurfaced video in the comments. And if you want to get extra content daily and support the work we do, you can do so by clicking the join button below.